Hello everybody, Ben Rogers here, the Raptors Digest, reacting to the Toronto Raptors 112-105 win against the Minnesota Timberwolves, and this puts the Toronto Raptors at 5-0 for the season, remaining undefeated under the Kawhi Leonard, Nick Nurse era, and my God, this team just looks extremely dominant whenever it's on the court, and this is largely due to the fact that we have in my opinion, a top 3 player in the NBA, definitely top 5, and Kawhi Leonard, and he shows in a night in, night out basis, despite the fact he barely played last season, despite the fact he's shaking rust off, he shows he's that level of talent every night. Tonight, does it once again, 35 points for Kawhi Leonard tonight, on 15 of 23 shooting, on top of 5 rebounds. This guy is absolutely unbelievable. Watching him play on a basketball court, it just comes so easily to him. It doesn't look like he's forcing anything. You know, there's occasions where he's isoing and doing certain things that people look down upon in current NBA, but it never looks out of control, and he always looks like when he wants to score, he's going to get a bucket. And that showed at the end of the game tonight. You know, we look back to the Washington game in which he didn't play, and the Raptors struggled to get a bucket. Kyle Lowry does a solid job at it, but when Kawhi Leonard wants to score, he does it. You know, he had Jimmy Butler, one of the best on-ball defenders, on him tonight. And, you know, one thing that's really surprised me about Kawhi is his handle this year. He just is able to shake whoever's guarding him and get the shot that he wants. We all knew he was big and he was dominant, but top that with the insane handle that he has, and that fadeaway, that mid-range jump shot that he's got, it's absolutely unbelievable. He hits threes. He doesn't force anything. He makes the right pass. I just have to take a step back and appreciate Masai Ujiri, appreciate everyone that's... How did we get this guy? This guy is... You know, I'm going on a huge Kawhi rant here, but he's one of the best basketball players I've ever seen. He's that good of a player, and hopefully he can stay healthy, keep it up throughout the season, and you know, this Raptors team has unlimited potential. When you have a top-tier player like that, then you know, you can do anything in this league. So shout out to Kawhi Leonard. 15 of 23 shooting. That's too good. That's too good to be true. That's enough of me ranting on Kawhi. He played a really nice game tonight. And another guy who played a solid game is Jonas Valanciunas. Jonas had 16 points, 9 rebounds, and only 20 minutes of action tonight. And this, we've mentioned it every pod, this rotating starting lineup, you know, where between Serge and Jonas, where neither of them really care who's starting because they're confident they're both going to get the minutes, and it's really helped both of them out. As I just said, Jonas' stat line, Serge also had 15 and 7 tonight, and the fact that they're both playing their natural positions, well, natural in today's NBA, it's really helped the production of both players. And, you know, people might complain because Jonas is doing so well in limited minutes as compared to last season. You know, he only had 20 minutes tonight, and Serge is only playing 28 minutes, and he's been absolutely beasting out there. But I think that's beneficial for the two players. As we all know, Jonas has had struggle with conditioning in the past, and he looks a lot leaner this season, so maybe that wouldn't have been much of an issue if he were to get more minutes. But we all know how Serge plays on back-to-backs and when he's not well-rested. So I think this is just, you know, this is the prime amount of minutes you want to give these two big men so they can come in always energized, always ready to go, and always focused. And the fact that their morale isn't low, you know, coming in, because they're both highly paid, highly respected NBA players that, you know, and it hurts some reputations to be coming off the bench. The fact that they're both okay with that and embrace it, that's another part of this Raptors team that's so great. Hopefully that remains, you know, throughout the season. Obviously, when losing happens, maybe frustrations will begin to boil over, but we'll deal with that when it comes. And it's right now it seems like the Raptors will never lose. 5-0 to start the season. Five solid wins. You know, 5 wins that you can say we deserve to win those games. There wasn't many close ones. I guess you could argue the Washington one was pretty close, but we didn't have Kawhi in that game either. So things continue to look bright for the Toronto Raptors. And another guy that is continuing to have his great dominant season is Kyle Lowry. Kyle Lowry tonight with another double-double. He's a double-double machine this year. He had 13 points, 10 assists, and 6 rebounds. Kyle Lowry's impact is just never shown on the box score. It never really has, as he's always been our engine, our main guy for the team. He's no longer our best player, but he's still the guy that makes this team go, and he just sets up plays for everyone on the court. He drives in. I've mentioned on other prods, I love the fact that he's driving into the lane and creating for people more again this season, and he's doing it to such a high level, and guys like Serge and Jonas are really the beneficiary of this. And another benefit to the staggered Serge and Jonas lineups is the paint is so much more open, because obviously you can't have too many big men on the court at once, and we'd run Serge in the high post a lot last year with Jonas down low, and now that we have 4 actual wing players, because Serge Ibaka is a natural in the paint player, he's not a guy on the wing, despite the fact we play him out there sometimes. The fact that our starting units and all of our units always have 4 wing guys and 1 post, the paint is just so much more open. It gives the ability for guys like Lowry to go in and drive in and create and give dump offs, and then if people collapse in on the paint, there's open shooters. Things just look a lot more natural this season. And a big part of it is that those lineups that are being put on the court, they fit together better, and it might not necessarily be the top 5 guys talent-wise, but it's most certainly lineups where players are playing well together. I like that we get to see different people play with each other, because we know who will fit best. And another part of it too is we have more 3-point shooting this season, and that transitions into a guy I just want to give a huge shout out to. He gets overlooked because he came in with such a great player, but Danny Green, didn't have the greatest shooting from the field tonight, but hit 2 threes, 6 points, a plus 17 for the game. And this guy is just everything you want in a role player for a really high caliber team. Despite when his shot is going, not going, you always feel like the shot's going in, and that forces the defense to guard him. He never gets inside his own head, as we see with many 3-point shooters in the NBA. We've seen chase down blocks from him. He guards the best player. He did a phenomenal job when he was switched on to Jimmy Butler tonight. Jimmy Butler had 23 points, but we've known Jimmy Butler to go off against the Toronto Raptors. So 23 points is light for Jimmy when he plays at the now Scotiabank Arena. So that was a great job. Danny Green and Kawhi Leonard, they did a phenomenal job on him tonight. And before I get into more of the Timberwolves side of things, just really want to give credit to Danny Green, because he's another guy. The box score, when you have such a talented roster, the box score isn't going to show how great the players are playing, because there's not enough touches, there's not enough rebounds, there's not enough everything to go around. But his defense, his threat at the 3-point line to space the offense, and his confidence in shooting the ball, I got to give huge props to my guy Danny Green. Great performance tonight. And before we start talking about the Timberwolves, the Pascal Siakam had a kind of a bounce back game. He had a couple of really nice blocks, 9 points, 4 rebounds, doing Pascal things, running the floor. Not many shots from Pascal tonight. Only took 6 shots, hit 4 of them. So I like the efficiency. Maybe I really am high on Pascal Siakam, and I have big expectations for him coming into the season. So I hope he really finds his niche, and he still looks good. He hasn't looked bad by any means to start the season, but I was hoping for him to take a greater step forward this year. I still think he has the skills and he looks more polished, but I think he should really focus on getting his game a bit more. That's just something I like to see as a Raptors fan, because if we get Pascal Siakam looking like the player everyone said he was going to become, the next Draymond Green and those sorts of comparisons, I think this team is just completely unstoppable. And Norman Powell tonight, 10 points. He looked a lot more confident. I think the key with Norm is playing him in his proper position. Norman Powell is a shooting guard. I know it's positionless basketball in today's NBA, but Norm plays extremely great defense when he's playing against other guards, and when he's asked to do have more of a ball handling role, be able to create and then pass to the forwards in the corners or to the cutters, he's much more effective in those roles. And that, on top of the fact he knows he's getting consistent minutes, especially with DeLon and Fred dealing with injuries, he's been playing much better. And I got to give him credit. Norm has gone up and down, had crazy highs, crazy lows throughout his NBA career. I just like the fact that he seems to be, finding his niche within this team. And hopefully when DeLon and Fred get integrated back into the rotation, he can still produce whether his minutes are there or not. So I just want to give a shout out to Norm. obviously, people that listen to the pod know I'm extremely high on the guy. I love him ever since those playoff runs. So I'm really rooting for Norm. But that's enough about the Raptors. We talk about the boys every night. They're very good. Before we get into the segments, I just want to take a look at the Timberwolves, because this team they're really confusing, as they have a lot of talent. Obviously, Wiggins didn't play for them tonight, and usually he goes off against the Raptors. But Jimmy Butler, he only took 13 shots, and we all know the whole situation with Jimmy Butler demanding a trade from Minnesota. So it's kind of a weird dynamic that they have going on in the locker room, and it shows on the court, as they just look so disjointed when they're playing. And I think it's really affecting Karl Anthony Towns. He had 14 points tonight, 8 rebounds, but 5 of 17 from the field, and really just was a non-factor on the court. And if you look at this guy's stats, and this guy, how he played, last season, but especially 2 years ago, he was looked at as a guy that was, in comparison to Anthony Davis, and, supposed to be the next heir to the throne when LeBron James inevitably gets old and stops being the GOAT. So it's really interesting to me to see how he can just fade away in the shadows, and not because he's a very talented player. He can hit threes, he can dunk, he's athletic, he's big. It's very confusing as to the game that he played, just watching that whole thing. So hopefully he can piece it together. Maybe once they get the whole Jimmy Butler thing sorted, him and Wiggins will, thrive. And because obviously as a Canadian, you're rooting for Wiggins, but yeah, they have too much talent to just disappear like that. So that's just something I wanted to mention. And D Rose, especially in the first half, looked really nice tonight. And apparently he's been having a great season. Haven't been following the Timberwolves too much, but looking at his stats and hearing what people are saying, shout out to D Rose for making kind of a comeback. A guy that's had multiple knee injuries. ACL injuries are the absolute worst. And the fact that he's had, I believe it's 3 knee surgeries and is still playing at a high level, I just got to give a shout out. Huge fan of Derrick Rose. But anyways, we got to get straight into the segments. And tonight, following the podcast, I'm putting a poll up on the Raptors Digest Instagram to see what is the official name for the currently Kawhi You Do Him Like That play of the day. We're going to throw up, because we listened to the comments, apparently you guys don't like that name, so we're going to throw it in an Instagram poll. The debate between the Kawhi play of the night and the Kawhi light of the night. So definitely follow the Instagram. We always shout it out at the end of the podcast. Not sure how many people make it that far, but we definitely want you guys to check that out. And even if you don't follow us, engage in the poll, because that's key. But definitely follow us, because we've revamped that. So if you want input on the name, we're gonna throw a poll up on there. But I like the Kawhi You Do Him Like That play of the night. So for the final Kawhi You Do Him Like That play, it's lasted 5 games. It's got to go to Kawhi himself, and it's kind of an obscure one tonight, because usually it's a crazy dunk or a cool 3 or a game winner, and he hit a couple fadeaways and stuff at the end of the game. But the play that really caught my eye was actually on the defensive end. And Kawhi was in denied position on the wing, and a Timberwolves guard was trying to throw a back cut. I believe it was to Jimmy Butler. We got it playing on the screen. But Kawhi, he wasn't looking at the ball, and his spider senses went off or something, and he just fell to the ground and just grabbed it and threw the ball to Lowry, who immediately went up in transition. Might be one of the greatest steals I've ever seen in my life in a basketball game. He wasn't looking at the ball. He fell down to his left and caught a bounce pass that was flying right beside him. So, yeah, he's Defensive Player of the Year for a reason. I didn't think it was because the man had those spidey senses. He had his spider senses tingling, because he definitely couldn't see that ball. There was something mystical going on with that. So, yeah, shout out to Kawhi. The final Kawhi You Do Him Like That play of the night. And, but not all plays can be the Kawhi You Do Him Like That play of the night. And some just make you say, oh, geez. And tonight, the OG's play of the day is going to Norm God. Norman Powell, great game tonight. He hit a 3 and he was on a roll. So he got the ball in transition, and it was a 3-on-1, but he got fouled, and he decided to throw up like a behind the head bank shot. I couldn't find it online, so we don't have it on the screen, but yeah, he just threw it up and it banked in. It was pretty cool. The people that watched the game made me say, oh geez. I'm sure it did to you as well, so that's pretty cool. And finally, the DeMarre Carroll Gold Star Award tonight. We already talked about him, but the Minnesota Timberwolves, you're getting it. You're getting the DeMarre Carroll Gold Star Award. You guys have way too much talent to be this weird. you're not necessarily bad because you've won a couple games, but you're 2-3 on the season. You got Jimmy Butler, Karl-Anthony Towns. Obviously, Wiggins didn't play tonight, so we'll give him a pass. And they played the Toronto Raptors, who are going 82-0, so it's an automatic L. But, yeah, they got to get the Jimmy Butler thing sorted because, everyone flames Wiggins. Everyone flames, Towns after that playoff series. But I still think two of those guys have a lot of talent. They're very good guys and are definitely have the potential to be stars in the NBA. I know... if you look at Wiggins 2 years before, or the year before Jimmy Butler came, the guy was averaging 23 points per game. A guy that averages that many points, I know people always say empty stats and all that stuff. It's still very impressive. And he was growing, he had a linear growth in the NBA. It looked like he was about to take the step forward to be a, household name and all-star. Jimmy Butler came, and we all know the situation, that the locker room and all the stuff that's been brewing now. But I think that could have had an effect on Wiggins' growth. And Towns, he was averaging 25 and 12 before Jimmy Butler came, and then his stats regressed. And now he averaged 21 and 12 last year, which is still pretty good. 17 and 9 this year, obviously a small sample size, but I think all the negative energy surrounding the Timberwolves with Jimmy Butler, I think they can get a couple guys that really complement Wiggins and Towns. They could be definitely a consistent playoff team in the West. And maybe find another third, maybe not necessarily star, but player that complements those two talents. And maybe they could do something in the Western Conference. Obviously, I don't watch enough Timberwolves games to know exactly what's happening with the team, but that's my take on it as an outsider fan on the team. But let me know what you guys think. The Toronto Raptors are phenomenal. I raved about Kawhi Leonard for the first 5 minutes of the podcast, but I'm just so excited about our team. Hopefully we can continue this, beat the Mavericks on Friday, and, look forward to, I believe it's the Bucks after that. So we got a lot of great games coming up. As I mentioned, there's a poll going up on the name change for the Kawhi Doom Like That Play of the Day on our Instagram, so definitely follow that. At least check it out if you want input on there, because I know you guys have been having some debates in the comment section about what the name should be. So see us on that. Twitter. We've been a bit lax on the Twitter this year. We're going to try and get more consistent with that. So, a lot of cool stuff coming as the season keeps going along. You're the best for making it this far. Cheers.